I didn't know how I was going to make a living if I wasn't fighting.
They both desperately want that UFC
We've
belt.
been through hell and back more than one time.
Oh!
Like, dude, that saved my life. Nobody else believed I could do anything.
Trying to finish it right now.
You don't really fail unless you choose to quit.
Fighting out of San Diego, California, Dominick Cruz!
When people think of Dominick Cruz, they think of San Diego, but we're in Tucson, Arizona right now, in the desert.
Yeah.
What are we doing? This is home.
Well, yeah, this was home. I always tell people who ask me about it, I was built in Tucson, like this is where my roots are. And then as I grew and built up, I was made in San Diego.
But this specific spot, why here?
We would do desert runs out here with the team. I'll do a lot of hikes out here. You're in the heat, it's 110 degrees on, you're in plastics and sweats. You realize that there's something different about yourself while you're making that run when you finish it, that 98% of people aren't even gonna think of trying to attempt that run. And regardless of how good these guys are that I'm fighting, I knew my toughness could get me through. And that was something I had to rely on, and that's something that I learned here in Tucson.
Tonight makes his WEC debut, Dominick the Dominator!
When you went to the WEC, you were 9-0. Your eyes are solely focused on the champion. At the time, Uriah Faber was the man. But you're signing over his face on the posters.
When you have no career and you're just trying to get out of Tucson and you're just trying to build your name and build your brand and you're fighting the champion when nobody else wanted to fight him on a short notice fight, I thought I deserved to at least be on there next to him saying, this is the guy competing against Faber. And so I said, you know, I'm gonna make sure I make this poster, and I did. Because to this day, we're talking about it. Faber was the guy to beat at that point when I was coming up through the ranks.
Oh, now this is bad. Tap it out. That's it.
I did lose, but it gave me a whole nother revelation after competing against him that I'm at this level.
So as we make our ascent up this mountain, you're doing this and this and this.
Dominick Cruz defends his title in an all-out war.
And it's going to a level you never could have imagined.
And still!
Bring it, let's go, I'll take anybody. I'm trying to make history here.
You start to deal with injuries.
First injury I ever had, it hurt me because I had no real established future. I didn't know how I was gonna make a living if I wasn't fighting.
So while all this is happening, the division's moving on, you're on the shelf for 3 years.
Dominick Cruz fighting for the first time in 1,092 days.
You put on the performance of your life and reintroduce yourself to the division saying, I'm Dominick Cruz, I'm the champ, and I'm back.
He never lost his belt in the octagon. He wants to come back big.
I knew I was prepared for a 3-round fight with Takaya Mizugaki because I ran into every single scenario in practice for 8 weeks leading up to that fight.
All over Mizugaki here early.
Ring rust didn't exist. That's the biggest thing you hear from media, from everybody.
Dominick Cruz is all over him. He's out. He's out.
It's
He's
all
out.
over.
If you're prepared, you will face every single issue you're gonna face on that night, whether you're gone for 10 years or 1 day, it doesn't matter.
Dominick Cruz is back.
Welcome back, Dominick Cruz, in spectacular fashion.
It seems as though everything's going good again, right? But then another setback.
Yeah.
Bantamweight champion Dominick Cruz has suffered another ACL injury.
Frustrated injuries, the knee goes and it goes again.
This whole thing I'm being put through, all these tests, all these things, I'm being put through it because I'm the one who's tough enough to handle it. So I fought Mizugaki, won, blow my knee out again for the 3rd time, a year off, and then Shelby calls me at exactly the 9-month mark. You ready to fight TJ Dillashaw for the belt?
Live from Boston, Massachusetts!
On short notice, you go in there against one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world.
It's time!
You had to have said, taking a breath, Dom, and go, yes, finally.
It's crazy to think, but I did that more for the Mizugaki fight. I already knew I was the champion then. That's what's weird about that TJ Dillashaw fight. When I'd come back from the 3.5 years and fought Mizugaki, I knew that coming back and fighting TJ was not going to be an issue after another year layoff.
New UFC undisputed bantamweight champion of the world, Dominick Cruz!
moment for Dominick Cruz. What a moment.
2016, one of your busiest years ever, you finally put that rivalry with Faber to rest.
After that Faber fight, that's 2 title fights within 6 months' time.
Yeah.
I was tired, but
Yeah.
there was a huge fight in front of me, so I took a 3rd title fight in 1 year, which most champions just don't do, and I did it after a 3.5-year layoff, so it was tough, but I had to do it. It was one of those things where I'd been gone long enough that I had to go out there and just gut it out.
No one has ever been able to do this to Dominick Cruz. We have a new champion, Cody Garbrandt.
We're getting to the top of this mountain, right? We're finally getting here.
Yeah.
You've been there on a number of occasions, and if history says anything about your journey, is that you will get right back to where we are right now at the mountaintop.
Losing my belt and dealing with injuries and all this, it's just part of it. And I'm put here to go through this to show people that it doesn't matter how many times you keep failing. You don't really fail unless you choose to quit. I get to take you to a few places today where you can figure out that this is not the hardest thing I've gone through, any of this stuff. It'll make more sense with why you can't really stop me, why I just keep coming back. It's just, there's not really a whole lot of choice.
Tucson built, San Diego made.
Yep, got more to come.
When I first had to leave their dad, that was hard. That was very difficult.
There was no time to feel sad or sorry. It was step up.
So where are we heading now, Dom?
We're going to my house I grew up in, man.
Women have played a huge part in your upbringing.
I've been raised by women mostly. My father figures in my life were my coaches only. My dad would come in and out, but he's still battling drug addiction today. He's 55 years old. He's been doing drugs since he was kicked out of the house at 12 years old. It did make me who I am because the last thing I wanted to be was a drug addict that had no life and no money. Wait till you see this treehouse I put up there. This is it, DC. I pulled that up with a rope when I was like junior high.
Oh my God. But look at that, I would have fallen out of there.
How risky. I can't believe I didn't break myself on that.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
It is, I know. Show you the Casa La Cruz.
Childhood home.
Hey, babe, how are you?
Let me see.
Good to see you.
Don't give him underhooks. This is DC.
Daniel Cormier, nice to meet you.
How are you?
Dom said that you guys moved into this house when he was around
6th grade.
6th grade?
When I first had to leave their dad, we stayed in a teeny tiny little apartment, and I slept on the couch, and they had their room. And then ultimately, we moved to a trailer. That was an upgrade for us. And when I married Dennis, this became our home. He allowed us to come in, and for the first time, they actually had, Dominick and Derek had their own bedroom.
It takes a village to build a champion. You played a big part in Dominick's development, but there was help. And where'd that come from?
My mom, when I was still single mom, she was right across the street in another trailer. So honestly, I would imagine these guys kind of kept straight because of that.
Whenever we think of these young boys that are being raised by women, right? Sometimes there's a bit of a disconnect. How did you guys know what lessons to teach this young man growing up between two strong women?
I raised my children as if I was going to die tomorrow. So by this age, they had to learn this, 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 and this. And then I went right on with my grandchildren.
First of all, knowing that I couldn't replace their dad, that would be something that would come maybe, hopefully, later in life. I had a desire in that way.
I didn't see him as a strong-willed boy, I guess you'd say. I just seen him as someone that was going for what he wanted.
Yeah.
And that was great.
As you start to bring Dennis into the picture, Dennis is now the man of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that relationship.
More than anything, I was just at the age where I was tired of seeing my mom lonely.
Yeah.
I just wanted her to be happy with somebody. So even if I wanted to beat him up sometimes growing up, I never ever would have done it because I respected my mom so much. And he treated my mom like gold.
6 months later, Dennis is diagnosed with cancer and given less than 6 months to live. I mean,
They just got married. My mom's finally happy, you know? Like, she's finally married.
Right.
I'm just like, are you freaking kidding me?
His sister's just barely a year old, you know, and we're like, what? It developed into bone cancer, and for 9 months, he started in agonizing pain. It was really hard. It was really hard.
That was a weird time for me just because we were hurting because my stepdad couldn't work. And they had a kid together. I'm helping to raise my sister. I'm changing her diapers. I'm feeding her. This is happening while I know my stepdad could pass at any point and then my mom's gonna be alone again. And there was no time to feel sad or sorry. It was step up.
You have a time to be sad, but not to feel sorry for yourself. And let's make a positive out of this. There were so many things that he learned to do independently, which I thought was to strengthen his backbone.
When you got people like my grandma, my mom, their answer was always the same. What are you gonna do? It was always suck it up. Never feel sorry. You have time to be sad. I understand. Because there was no time for understanding or be sad or be, it was just, this is life. Can you handle it?
No, we didn't baby him. Just concerned about making him tough.
I didn't even value myself, but those guys said, you're good.
There's always got to be people that teach you wrestling, the people that introduce you to wrestling. How'd you come across it?
I walked into the wrestling room looking for soccer tryouts. A guy named Thomas Edwards, he goes, you're not a soccer player, you're a wrestler. And all I could picture was guys jumping off the ring doing power bombs, and he threw me on the scale. I was in 7th grade, I weighed 73 pounds. And I was the A-team 73 pounder because nobody else weighed 73 pounds. So when he told me I was on the A-team, sold.
There's two things I expect once we walk in here. A smell, because all wrestling rooms smell the same.
Yes.
And the feel of hard work.
Yep. I know I haven't been in this room in 10 years. The coach is still here, smells exactly the same.
When I first heard that Dom had two coaches here, Coach Weber and Coach Smurf, Papa Smurf's a nice character. But on the ride over here, Dom told me you were actually the nice guy and you took every opportunity to call him a pansy that you got.
No, we didn't baby him.
No, they're mean.
There's no such thing as baby Dominick. Just concerned about making him tough. I had no technique. I just wanted to make him tough.
And he did. That he did.
Well, he was a rug rat. You couldn't keep him out of the room. He was in here when he was in the 8th grade, wasn't he, Webb?
Yep.
And Weber would tell me, he can't be in there. He's too young.
Right.
I'd say, you kick him out. He won't stay out.
You know, I wasn't too thrilled with Dominick actually getting into the fight game because he was such a nice kid. I was concerned Bob wasn't. You know, I wanted him to go to college, come back, and take over the wrestling program.
No, I never did get nervous when Dominick was going in the ring. I always felt he had the heart, number one, and he certainly was tough enough. So we always thought he could win. At least I did.
So all this adversity that Dominick has dealt with, any worry that one day he'll get back to the top of the mountain?
I always thought he could do whatever he set his mind to do, period. Whether it was win a championship or win a serious match.
Post-fight interview after the last fight, I don't think anybody said it better.
It sucks to lose. It's the worst feeling in the world. It's not what I survive off of, is being the title holder. I'm a very happy individual outside of that, and for that I'm thankful.
I have no doubts he's going to go back again and get the title back.
Dom said earlier that he relied a lot on coaches as father figures. Could you guys feel that?
I'd coached every one of Dominick's matches, all the way through high school, and up comes his match to get the medal. It was going to be real emotional for me to be in his corner, and I didn't know if I'd make great decisions. So I asked Bob to take the last match, and I watched it from the other side of the gym. And I started bawling like a baby, and I went back in the hallway, cleared my eyes, and I went out and congratulated him, but it was tough.
I needed men that were mean and tough and responsible, but still a certain belief. There's just a certain belief these two had in me that I didn't really understand. But whether they thought I was going to be the best on earth or not, they still paid attention and gave me their time. And that's what I needed. I just needed somebody to give it without needing anything for it. Good to meet you.
What does Dominick Cruz's legacy leave at the school?
My whole office is full of his pictures, so they come in and we talk about him, and I tell them all kinds of stories about Dominick. What he did after high school, in addition to the kind of person he was in high school, allowed him to be inducted into our Hall of Fame.
Winner by unanimous decision, Dominick Cruz.
Thank you, everybody in Tucson, Arizona, for the love.
I've learned a lot about Dominick Cruz, and a lot of your story is about making people proud, and the people that really held you up in those times when they didn't have to.
Yeah, that's everything for me, because they didn't have to believe in me, and there's no reason to believe in me.
Dominick Cruz and parents Dennis and Suzette.
I'm just glad I could actually do it, and now remember where I'm from so it can come back to Tucson, to these kids. Jose, good to meet you, buddy. Man, I needed it when I was their age, and I'm sure it's going to do them so good now to know they could come at it here and go win as many world titles anywhere on earth as they want. It's not just about being an athlete. I'm trying to teach these kids to do something they want to do.
You wake up in awe every morning, wanting to serve even more.
Because once you find your passion, it's hard to stop you.
So, Dom, where are we now?
We're at Higher Ground. This is basically a place for kids to go for after-school programs so they're not just running on the streets, you know?
Not many people know this, but for a long time, you were the largest donor to this after-school program. At the restroom, you said they cared about you when they didn't have to, but you're doing the same thing at Higher Ground.
You don't understand, like, I didn't even value myself because I had nobody to teach me to value myself. My dad didn't like me. He went for drugs, me up. But those guys said, you're good. And that's something I wanted to instill into the kids now, is that them to understand that people do care about you whether you have something to give them or not.
But this great deed, you don't make it known. How did you get started in this program?
Actually, my mom brought it up. She knew the owner, and his heart was just all in. When I listened to him, I was like, okay, you're broke. You have nothing to gain from this except helping the kids, so I'm gonna help you guys out. I started funding this program about 7, 8 years ago, I wanna say. And over time, this program has exploded. So it's amazing.
So starting off 10 years ago with 60 kids from Pistor Middle School to 2,000 kids 10 years later, you wake up in awe every morning wanting to serve even more. They can choose an elective, but they can't quit until the semester's over. So no matter how hard it gets, no matter how much they whine, we don't let them quit, because then that becomes a habit, and they do that when they get older.
In schools, it's read this instruction, go to college, you buy a house, and you work in a company. That's it. They don't teach you that when you're going to get that job and you fail 10 times, you still got to go back and try to get a job the next day. Nothing in school focuses on emotions, spiritual mindset. Yeah. They're filling in gaps, and that's what I want to be giving to in Tucson.
Dominick found his escape through wrestling. But obviously he supports anything that allows for people to escape their situation.
Yeah, well, some of our kids don't like to do jiu-jitsu and judo or get thrown and stuff, so we bring in things that the kids want to do.
And how much of this has to do with finding your passion, right? That's what this place is about. I mean, we found ours in wrestling. We were lucky. they're gonna find it in whatever else, but they have all the options here, and that's what's cool, because it's not just about being an athlete. That's not what I'm just trying to teach. I'm trying to teach these kids to do something they want to do. Because once you find your passion, it's hard to stop you. It's not about anybody else except for the kids, and then, you know, I'm learning from it through the process.
I can feel genuine care from you guys, and I can see in the kids that they feel it, and they're all going to benefit from it. Dom, you talked about growing up in Tucson, how it made you tough. You took us on a trip through your childhood and your upbringing, and we end here. Your motto has never rang so true in my mind. Tucson built, San Diego made. That's Dominick Cruz.
Oh! Big left hand!
The list goes on with the people that I've had in my corner for this. That's why I'm here.
Tucson built, on that end, it's, you know, just going through the struggles of growing up. Everybody has them. Some people don't have their dad, some people do. You know, getting bullied sometimes, not winning the state titles, running Tumamoc Mountain. These things are what made me tough.
He stunned him again. One more time.
San Diego made is, I took all the things I learned that were gonna make me a tough individual to follow a pro career and took it right to San Diego. I almost enjoy the tests because I've been winning without the tests. So now let's see how tough we can make it. Let's take out my arm, let's take out my knees, and then see if I can still be a champion under these circumstances. Because I've been through so many terrible things that nobody can believe, the worst luck in the world, how much more prepared am I for life? Because you don't really fail unless you choose to quit.